When most people think of gardening, they imagine shovels, rototillers, and endless hours of digging. But what if I told you that some of the most productive gardens in the world thrive with almost zero digging? Biodynamic gardening, an approach developed nearly a century ago, flips the traditional model on its head. Instead of forcing the soil into submission, it teaches you to work with natural processes, letting the earth build fertility and structure on its own. I've spent months applying these principles in my own garden, and the results were stunning: richer soil, healthier plants, and dramatically reduced labour. For the first minute, I want you to grasp the scale of this change. No more back-breaking turns of the spade. No more barren soil in need of endless amendment. Instead, you'll see a garden ecosystem that sustains itself and responds to your care naturally. This isn't philosophy. It's practical science rooted in observation, ecology, and centuries-old knowledge. By adopting biodynamic techniques, you can increase soil fertility, enhance water retention, and grow stronger, more resilient crops without ever digging. And today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how it works, how to apply it in your backyard, and why it can transform the way you think about gardening. Biodynamic gardening starts with understanding your soil as a living organism. Unlike conventional methods that treat soil as inert dirt, Biodynamics treats it as a dynamic, living ecosystem. Microbes, fungi, worms, and plant residues interact continuously, creating nutrient cycles that sustain plant life. When you dig or till aggressively, you disrupt these cycles, releasing carbon and damaging microbial networks. In my garden, adopting a no-dig approach led to a noticeable increase in earthworm activity and microbial presence within just a few weeks. The soil felt lighter, richer, and more crumbly, and plants responded almost immediately with more robust root systems and leaf growth. For practical application, start by observing your soil. Note texture, moisture, and visible organisms. Introduce compost, mulch, and plant residues on the surface instead of burying them. Over time, this surface layer will decompose naturally, feeding microbes and building fertility from the top down. This creates a self-sustaining nutrient cycle that mimics natural forest floors. Compost and organic matter are your secret weapons in biodynamic gardens. One of the key pillars of biodynamics is feeding the soil, not just the plants. Organic matter, such as well-aged compost, leaf litter, and even kitchen scraps, fuels microbial activity and enhances soil structure. In my own trials, adding a thick mulch of compost over planting areas without turning the soil resulted in a striking increase in plant vigour and moisture retention. Roots penetrated deeper, water held longer, and the garden required far less supplemental irrigation. A practical step is to layer a 2 to 3 inch layer of compost over your garden beds in early spring or late fall. Then add additional mulch on top, like straw or shredded leaves, to protect the surface. Over time, this layer integrates naturally, enriching the soil while keeping weeds at bay. Unlike digging in fertilizer, this method respects microbial habitats and encourages natural nutrient cycling. Crop rotation and companion planting amplify natural soil fertility. Biodynamic gardening emphasizes planting in patterns that mimic natural ecosystems. Rotating crops prevents nutrient depletion, while companion planting enhances microbial activity and pest resistance. For example, legumes fix nitrogen in the soil, which benefits leafy greens or root crops planted nearby. In my garden, alternating rows of beans, carrots and kale created a system where soil nutrients were replenished naturally, pests were minimized, and yields increased without chemical inputs. To apply this, map out your garden beds and plan seasonal rotations. Include nitrogen-fixing plants, deep-rooted species that bring up minerals, and surface plants that provide organic cover. Over successive seasons, the soil becomes more resilient, fertile and structured, all without any digging. Biodynamic preparations harness natural processes for fertility and plant health. One of the unique aspects of biodynamics is the use of natural preparations that stimulate soil life and enhance plant growth. Preparations made from herbs, fermented manure, or mineral compounds are applied in small amounts to the soil or compost. I experimented with a simple compost preparation infused with chamomile and yarrow, sprinkling it over garden beds. Within weeks, microbial activity surged, and plants showed more vigorous growth than untreated areas. These preparations are less about chemicals and more about guiding natural processes to work in harmony with your garden. For a practical approach, start small. Add prepared compost teas or herbal sprays to a single bed and monitor plant health. Over time, these treatments support a living soil ecosystem that actively sustains plant fertility, rather than relying on external inputs. The enduring lesson is that soil works best when you stop forcing it. By avoiding digging, feeding the soil organically, rotating crops, and applying natural preparations, you create a self-sustaining garden ecosystem. Plants grow stronger, soils retain water, and the overall effort required is far lower than conventional methods. What started as an experiment in my backyard has become a philosophy. When you work with the soil rather than against it, productivity and resilience flourish naturally. If you want more hands-on strategies for working with soil instead of struggling against it, subscribe to Hydrohaven and share this video with fellow gardeners who want to see how biodynamics can transform backyard growing into a sustainable, no-dig paradise.